Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Canada. This is Kushalmehra, as always, with Daniel Boardman, fresh off the United Against Extremism conference. And we'll talk about the conference too, but I want to first talk about the latest news that has come up. I don't know what else am I supposed to do other than laugh at what's happening in Canada. So now the latest news is Canada rescinds the digital services tax to advance broader trade negotiations with the United States. And look at the first reply to this. What is happening? Yeah, I have to play this clip. I have to play this clip because honestly, as much as we as Canadians want to be offended about this, this is the sad reality of how this negotiation is going to go. Listen to this clip.
First, what's the president's reaction to this? Can you tell us more about his call with Prime Minister Carney over the weekend? How did he get Carney to drop it? And also, what's the impact on American tech companies given this latest progress as the president says he has been fighting for American tech companies?
It's very simple. Prime Minister Carney in Canada caved to President Trump in the United States of America. And President Trump knows how to negotiate, and he knows that he is governing the best country and the best economy in this world, on this planet. And every country on the planet needs to have good trade relationships with the United States. And it was a mistake for Canada to vow to implement that tax that would have hurt our tech companies here in the United States. The president made his position quite clear to the prime minister, and the prime minister called the president last night to let the president know that he would be dropping that tax, which is a big victory for our tech companies and our American workers here at home.
So are we elbows up? Are we elbows down?
Up, down, up, down, up, down. Up, elbows down right now. We're in elbows down. Elbows down, everyone. You can type like this. You don't need to type like this. Yeah, so elbows down. Listen, I don't like that Canada's getting bullied by someone who is threatening to annex the country, but I also like that we're not getting a crazy new digital tax that would make my life and work and existence harder. So, go team, I think. Maybe. Did we win? Did we lose? Who knows? There's a win. There's a loss. Ultimately, yeah, okay. Mark Carney and the Liberals look foolish. I'm okay with that, And if Trump's going to bully Mark Carney into being a red Tory, okay, fine. That means we get a somewhat conservative government in Canada. I'll take it by the roundabout way. Like, it's the year 2025. You got to take the silver linings where you can in Canada. This is much better than Trudeau, adding a diverse, listen. If Donald Trump manages to get rid of the dairy cartel and all this stuff, I will build a statue of Donald Trump and Mark Carney if they do this. Okay? I will build them a statue. I will throw a parade. It might just be me ranting about,
Please, it should not be like the gay pride parade. Did you look at that picture?
Oh yeah. Oh, it's every year. Yeah. Back at it again. It will be the end of supply management trade. It will be me with the picture of Milton Friedman going, yay, yay, yay. It'll be a great parade. I'll prance around Queen's Park or whatever it is I'll do. It'll be a very happy day for me. Yeah. And Canada will be so much stronger. I'm kind of I don't like Trump and the 2.0 and the craziness and, a lot of this stuff, but a lot of his attacks on Canada are fundamentally insane. Okay. Even if there's no 4D chess, blah, blah, blah. Some of them are just fundamentally insane, but they're also fundamentally flawed in a way that I kind of get what America's complaining about. One, with the fentanyls and the cartels and the crime. Fair enough. But two, with all the trade stuff, Canada actually subsidizes America. Our stupidity hurts us the most, and America takes advantage of it. And now Donald Trump is actually going after this system where America benefits off Canada's stupidity because in order to survive, we just have to then dump stuff on America because they're the only one who can competently consume products because we're ridiculous. If Trump forces us to undermine the dairy cartels and remove subsidies and all this different stuff, all this nonsense Canadian stuff that actually hurts Canadian domestic producing more, will actually increase Canada's strength and value and put us in a better position to negotiate with the Americans long term. So I know we look silly and we do that, but if we can actually get rid of a lot of this we're always the new thing in the election, which I've been talking about, like free trade within Canada. What if Canada had a free trade agreement with Canada? Like, can we get Alberta and Quebec and Ontario and Manitoba, Saskatchewan? Like, can we get all the homies in a room and agree that Canada should have a fair trade agreement? Like, can we do that? And then, stop with like the niche, mafia-esque businesses, cartels run out of Quebec because they speak French and we have to capitulate to the French. We won the Battle of the Plains of Abraham. I don't want to see the cheese cost $8 when it should be costing $4. I'm sorry. This is 1759. We won the battles of Plains of Abraham. Get the fuck out, you Frenchies. That's what should have happened. But somehow they took control of the country by losing the war. Very silly place. And it's manifested in my historical Canadian rage focused at the French is now centered on this particular dairy cartel. So I'm kind of, again, as I said, I think last time, like, I will fight the dairy cartel, like, before I go to Ukraine or Israel or India or wherever you deport me to. I will drop out of a plane and I will go to Quebec and I will fight the corrupt bureaucrats who keep the supply management system intact. I'll do it. So that has me hopeful. The rest of it is like, again, elbows up, elbows down, elbows up, elbows down. Do the liberals care? No, like, we're in the same thing. It's the same thing we talked about the election. Do liberal voters care about the hypocrisy? No, they don't. No one cares about the hypocrisy of the liberals.
But does any voter care about the hypocrisy, to be fair?
No.
Human beings are tribal.
Yes. Like 5%, something like that. Like, maybe in some way, if you ask them the right question, you can get them to care about it, and people might feel like they care about it. But no, it doesn't. I don't think the hypocrisy affects the liberals in any way. I think the Conservatives can try and capitalize on it. Like, the Conservatives need to just part an actual course for their vision of the country. Be like, the winning narrative for the Conservatives is going to have to listen. You're out of commission for the next year until you have a leadership, whatever, and Polyev is doing an internal battle thing. You need to say, here's our vision. We outlined the vision for the country. We're repealing the carbon tax and all this. Mark Carney is successful when he steals conservative platforms, and he is unsuccessful when he doesn't. Listen, we need to be more economically liberal and empower our economy and blah, 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 blah. If we don't enforce our plan and do a Canada First plan, Mark Carney will get bullied by Donald Trump into doing things by a roundabout way that affect America. So we need to work together for unity, and we're going to work with the government to continue to propose great ideas, and we're going to let the government steal them, and we're not going to complain. We're going to actually compliment Mark Carney when he does the right thing, and we're going to end this together and show the unity, show you as a driving factor, and basically set the narrative. Okay, when you listen to us, Canadians like you. When you don't listen to us, you get bullied by Donald Trump into doing something else. And then show, like, that is what I said when Pierre, like, when he canceled the carbon tax, and Pierre went, ref, it's not a canceling. He just set it to zero and a thing. And then, no, he should have gone. Thank you, Mark Carney. Even Mark Carney agrees that I'm the next prime minister of the country because he's taking my ideas. So I thank Mark Carney for his endorsement, and I'm going to continue to work to make Canada great. Canada first. Let's go. Right. But instead he did he's not, we said it first. So if the Mark Carney's going to be left, and he's right, left, and he's going to oscillate. So if you're always going, you are also hypocritical, because when he's on one side, you're bashing him from that side, and then when he goes to the other side, you're bashing him from the other side. So you need to have some moral consistency, because if the Conservative Party is just going to be letting Carney set the pace, and he's going to be hypocritical, you can't criticize him for being hypocritical if you've taken opposite stances. If you're just oppositional to Carney and he's switching here and there and here and there, and all you're doing is opposing, well, you're also switching here and there and here and there. Like, Conservatives, if they want to criticize on the hypocrisy and make it drive and make it a successful criticism, they need to actually chart a firm course straight ahead, and then thank Carney when he listens to them and say, yes, we're working together, we're leading, and we're showing leadership and commitment, and we're working for the people who voted for us because blah, blah, blah. Show that you act like you're in some sort of charge and have some sort of power in this. And then, then you can leverage Carney's hypocrisy and the elbows up, elbows down, elbows up, elbows down, elbows up, elbows down. Then you can look like the more stabilizing factor and consistent people. But if you're just reacting to Carney, then you end up getting hit by the same hypocrisy criticism that hits him. So there's no way for the Conservative Party to make the hypocrisy accusation stick, because they're also just reflexively anti-Carney.
Yeah, but there are so many problems in what is happening right now in Canada. As far as the negotiations with the United States of America are concerned, these are now, I say this again as kind of someone who has an insider outsider perspective. So, this is how I look at it. I just don't see sufficient reasons now with Canada now caving into a lot of these. Look, I understand the dairy cartel is problematic. So yes, Donald Trump is benefiting a Canadian in some ways. I think the retrospective digital services tax was absolutely abysmal, and the retrospective bit was even worse. Like, okay, if you put up a tax that is applicable from, let's say, the next day, I still get it. You're putting a tax that is like retrospective from 3-4 years ago. This is another thing that is very similar in India and Canada. Both countries love retrospective taxes too.
It's insane shit. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate that nonsense. And like, yeah, so you got smacked, and we look silly as a country because you tried to do your liberal like pandering nonsense. Like, it's like, so yeah, like you get removed. Carney, you know, I wish, Carney just do the center, be a red Tory, just say diversity stuff. You can still attend a pride parade or two and say diversity is great, and sky is blue, hatred has no place here. Do it, sure, go. But like, can we just have an economy, and can we just not be ridiculous, evil, like global technocrats for like 5 minutes to have a country and do all that? So like, where sometimes Carney is a serious technocrat who can effectively manage and bring stability and like has some general concept of how the world works, and that's nice. That's an improvement over whatever, and it's good when he does that. And sometimes it's sort of what people know is like the Klaus Schwab side of him, like the global techno leader, what is it? Brookfield, BlackRock, the Eurasia Group, World Economic Forum, right? That that side of him where he's going to Greta Thunberg the world. The part of his brain where like, listen, this digital retroactive tax on digital stuff, digital media companies, because you want to control the narrative. That's the Greta Thunberg side of his brain. That's like we should say Greta Thunberg, right? And Trump defeated the Greta Thunberg side of Carney's brain there, and like, as a Canadian patriot, yes, I don't like it. I wish we would not be ridiculous, but like, okay, now we're back in negotiations or something. Like, we could have maybe leveraged the removal of the tax and like getting it off the table for something in negotiations, but now we've sort of shown our hand. Anyway, listen, it's more about just, can we just have a free trade deal inside Canada? Can like Canada trade with Canada? Can we figure that out, please? Can someone do it? I don't care who takes credit. Like, can we just have a country again, please? Someone, just can someone make this a country again? That's all I care about. Pierre, Donald Trump, Mark Carney, the ghost of Justin Trudeau.
Okay, good. This is the perfect segue because I don't think so that the way things are going now. Let me. I'll take some time now to explain why I believe there are 2-3 fundamental requirements for any country. If they want to be a country, you have to define what it means to be a country. First of all, a country means you have to have a standing army of some strength.
Yeah.
You have to have a defense budget that is relevant. You have to have an idea of nationhood that means something. These are very, you have to have a grand narrative where you have a story. It's a lot like religion. Now I don't need to remind people I'm an atheist. So my way of looking at religion is very different. I look at religion as a scientific meme which survives and it serves a purpose. And honestly, nation states and these ideas, I just look at them as stories that we create. And I just believe some of them are evolutionarily stable strategies. And I just don't understand whether Canada has the sufficient prerequisites anymore as a society, or whether it ever had it.
I would argue definitely yes, it had it. I would firmly say yes, there is a national story. It's a complex story, and you can go into it. And a lot of it, again, I think a big problem with the Canadian identity, and why Trudeau and the wokeness destroyed it is because it was always more complicated and malleable. So malleability has always had a
You
part of it.
cannot have a country, Daniel, in my view, if you outsource your security
Well,
requirements
exactly.
to
Okay,
another
so
country.
exactly. So here's where it is. Our very foundation as the birth of a country, like we're founded as a dominion of the British Empire, and we had domestic things, but like we were part of British national security. Part of us becoming a national country is World War I and actually forming a competent, cohesive Canadian army. Like the formation of you're right, you need an army, right? So the formation of Canadian identity, and like Don Cherry said, Canada is born as a country at Vimy Ridge, and going around that. And Canada's always had a very complex identity of being born as like both between worlds and like not Europeans, like born in Europe, gain the respect of the world in Europe, but an identity of like the noble warrior fighting for peace and like doing the right thing when it's hard. And this balance of Canadians are kind in peacetime, but can stand up when is needed. It ran really afoul and aground. Like I think it was a great driving factor on why integration and immigration was so well done here for so long. Like again, because I grew up in the 1990s in Toronto. Like so, I saw the city of Toronto be a place that all different peoples could get along and integrate and cooperate in with, and like it is possible here. And part of that was this sort of complex nationhood where we had the ability to be practical, adaptive, and noble. And then you saw that in peace, order, and good governance. But it sort of got watered down, especially in the Trudeau administration and lefties. And you could say like maybe the Vietnam Revolution and the rise of the left and the anti-war movement really killed Canada, because Canada, by degrading itself militarily, I think lost a lot of its identity and capability, because part of our identity, and I think are good, and like the reason why we're a G7 and G20 nation is like we actually have like really great military operations throughout the world. Like we did, we're well thought of for our actions in Lebanon and different parts of the African subcontinent. Like Canadians have actually conducted themselves with great honor and nobility in the last 150 years when they've left our soil and ventured outwards. And that means something. But in a world where there is moral inversion, where everything's morally gray, where there's oppressor and oppressed, it really eroded the sense of Canadian identity that like you can kill to protect, and it is good. And sometimes standing against evil, like we fully adopted, especially in the post 9/11 world, the myopic worldview, and absorbed that and tried to substitute our substantive identity and make it into something new, where it's like we wanted to be in this. It's the Francis Fukuyama disease, where like the arc of progress in history is always forward, and we will be more progressive. And history is done. So now we're secure and whatever. We're in post history. We have America. We have an ocean. Whatever. Our new way to impress people on the world stage will be to be like trans rights and more pride praise and be more progressive and to lead, right? To be like the whole essence of Justin Trudeau is, when they look back on me in 50 years, I'll be able to say that I was a pioneer in whatever new rights. Like again, it's you want to believe that you would have marched with Martin Luther King Jr. In the 1960s at the time, and I think that's a major driving factor of what's eroded Canadian identity. Is like we tried to become this like Klaus Schwab-y, like, and that's kind of in a sense like how Mark Carney is the ultimate manifestation of this ideology of like, okay, so the global technocrat and the global leader and all that. But Canada's identity and security had always come from the fact that we pulled our weight. Like we were actually a pretty practical people who can effectively use a military on peacekeeping missions, like, and we actually formed quite well into the global alliance and diplomatic structure. And we've done great, like, Lester Reed Pearson, negotiated the Suez Canal crisis. Again, like Canada is the only foreign country that, and it's dying off now, where in the Netherlands every year, there's a parade for the Canadian military for the liberation of the Netherlands. Where else is there a parade for any other foreign nation in any other foreign nation in the world? right? And we don't teach that to our kids, and we lost that. And like we get tulips. So why are like the cities of Ottawa, Toronto, and Montreal filled with tulips in the spring? You'll notice like our gardens planted with tulips. Those are a gift from the Dutch government for our actions in World War II. You know, and in this sort of lefty woke thing, the putting up like, you know, like this morality where like sometimes you have to use violence to stand up to evil. And like the poppy, which is worn across the British Empire, the story of the poppy is the Canadian first engagement in World War I. It's like one of history's greatest final stands. Like Canadians rush into like poison gas by like when the first mass gas attack of World War I is the Germans at Ypres. They gas bomb the enemies. The British run away. The French run away. The Canadians are the only ones left holding the line. The Canadian chemists figure out that it's like mustard gas, so they all pee on like a bunch of rags to use ammonia to neutralize it. So they all create impromptu gas masks. The Canadians start firing at them, but their fucking Canadian incompetence, the Ross rifle, the rifle that we'd sent to the Canadian army wasn't as good a quality, jammed, whatever. Like, so the good thing, the British ran away. So then Canadians ran to the British and French things, ran to the British trenches, got all the British weapons because they had run away, and then used the British weapons to hold the line for 40 hours to prevent the Germans from breaking through and winning the First World War by holding the line there. Right. And that's where John McCrae, who's a doctor, like dealing with the chaos and all that, writes a poem that he thinks is like his final will and testament. And that's the symbol of the poppy, which people wear all across the world. Even in America, in Arlington Cemetery, they hand out poppies and they don't know why. So like, don't tell me there's nothing to Canadian identity and there isn't something there. And it's definitely something that is not as easily describable as America. Like, fuck yeah, fireworks, freedom. It's a nation that had to make like complicated and like, but like really conduct itself. And like Canada didn't lose a single battle in the First World War once they formed their own army. Once Arthur Currie got control of the Canadian military and like all the Canadian military was actually formed into a Canadian command structure under the Canadian military, they won every single battle.
Post World War II, when the rest of the Western world accepted American hegemony and they let the Americans set up bases anywhere else in the world. I actually believe in the Saudis also in the same category. The Saudis also fall into the same category. Everywhere where the Americans have been allowed to set up their bases. I'm not saying whether it's good or bad, whether it's a good, like economically, it might make sense, you know, let the Americans carry the burden. We just have to pay 2% of our GDP, right? That's the rule for the NATO nations. We have to spend 2% of our GDP. Maybe it just makes more sense for them. It's just easier that the Americans protect them. But the long-term effects of this, in my opinion, as a country, is that when you cut a deal like this with any country across the world, whether it's America, whether it's today it's America, tomorrow somebody else might be the ruler of the world and you might be cutting deals with them. The point is that nationhood is the erosion of nationhood, or the erosion of the idea of nationhood, is not an overnight project.
Yeah.
Nationhood gets eroded very slowly.
Yeah.
Nationhood gets eroded over 100 years, 200 years, 300 years. And then one day it just falls. And in the case of Canada, I don't think so it's going to break. And, you know, like in my opinion, a lot of people say, oh, Alberta is going to separate and just remain separate. Your neighbor is America. They're never going to let it happen. They're just going to take over. That's how it is if Alberta separates. For Canada in the long run to have nationhood, I think Canada needs to have an economic plan and a defense plan. I just don't think the Canadian political class...
Exactly. Canada will not survive without figuring out a national defense plan. So this I am totally 100% in alliance with you and think you're 102.567% right. And I've been hawkish on this as well. So Canada needs to have a national defense plan. It needs to realize that we need to be integrated into the global alliance structure, and we needs to be able to articulate to the Americans in the world like why NATO is important. So like you're absolutely right. When you just give up your defense to America, you're going to suffer. But if you can work to augment American defense and global Western power, like you can help. So like America definitely benefits off of NATO. Like they don't carry all the weight. Like the amount of right, Britain used to be and still is like a global naval superpower. So for the American Navy to use any sort of, again, they have all the British and French and former like territorial European empire ports that still hold, and all the infrastructure that they've built and invested in is all accessed again by America. So like the UK does have leverage, like, and I think that's good for the European.
The American and French are the exception. Okay, they actually have a military,
right?
American, French, and the British, they are the exception.
Exactly, right? So this thing, I think, for Canada, we need to realize, okay, what do we need to invest in, and like how do we augment this? So I think one of America is shown to be not that reliable as an ally, and that's unfortunate for America. The Israelis, I'm not sure if you know, like the history of Israeli-U.S. cooperation. Like people think Israel's a cooperative America. And this, like, again, America did not help Israel until 1974 or the 1973 war and the Yom Kippur War. So Israel won all its independence wars and the 6 Days War without any American help, and actually under a global weapons embargo from the States in 48. In order to, so Israel had won in the 6 Day War. They had won the Sinai, and they won all this territory. And they were trying to give the Sinai back to Egypt for peace, but like Egypt didn't want peace because of jihad and pan-Arabism and blah, 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 blah. So the deal to give up the Sinai, to make peace with Egypt, is like Israel was willing to give up the Sinai for peace. But again, the Sinai protected them from Egypt. Like it's not like they really wanted to. Like they wanted to keep it as a buffer zone. And you saw October 7th. Like if you just do that. So in order to give the Sinai to Egypt and have, Arab control doing that, the Sinai was really important to Israeli defense. America had to give to Israel and to Egypt is promising them both military support. So this is when, after that, to give up the Sinai, America forced Israel into doing that. But the condition was, okay, that's why America supports Israel militarily, because that was the thing. Okay, you give up. Israel tried to just give up to Egypt for a peace deal. They said, no, global jihad forever. And they go, okay, well, no, now if you're going to be crazy, right, and say no. So in order to get Egypt into this and Israel into it, that was Carter, forcing, and the thought was, okay, if we're going to give up the Sinai and put the Egyptians on our border, then the U.S. will guarantee Israeli security by doing defense contracts. The problem this created is once you did a deal with the Americans and the Israelis, the Americans started to put conditions on the aid that they give Israelis. And in order to get like aid and Western military support, the Israelis had to shut down their own domestic manufacturing of arms, so they'd be more reliant on the U.S. because the U.S. didn't want competition and all that. So you've seen, and then this became dangerous for the Israelis because under Joe Biden, when they needed ammunition, they wouldn't give them the ammunition they paid for and wouldn't let them build their own stuff. So the Israelis have realized they need to have their own defense manufacturing capabilities, and they always have. But I think the Israelis have shown that the way to be part of a Western military alliance is you need to augment and be able to augment either the U.S. or NATO tech in some way. So the Israelis have become an incredible military power because the Israelis modify all the, American systems and whatever with their own weapon system and little tweaks here and there that have turned of course the Americans were helping Israel bomb Iran. You can't maintain air superiority without all the U.S. refueling jets. I think the Israelis have one aircraft refueler. The Americans have more than one. So the Israelis have managed to completely augment and modify and integrate Western tech. Canada needs to do the same. Like we should find, drones and ammunition. Like we have a great, battle lab of modern warfare. Again, we're not the Israelis. We're not a tiny place. We have a different thing than Israel. But our two most effective military investments are by far Ukraine and Israel. Right? You have the Israelis, which are pioneering sort of missile defense tech. So they found their way into the Western alliance sphere. The West is going to have to work with the Israelis going forward because the world's going to want, what if people threaten us with intercontinental ballistic missiles? We're probably shooting missiles out of the air is something the Jews are pretty good at, succeed at better than everyone because people like to fire missiles at Jews. and then they have to figure out how to deal with that. Same way like the Ukrainians figured out about like how to defend drone warfare. Okay, you want HIMARS, this and that. They also took out the strategic Russian bombing fleet that was threatening the US and Canada. So you have these things where we see what's effective. Okay, we can make missile interceptors. Like we need a military industrial complex. My problem with the military industrial complex is that it doesn't exist and it needs to exist. We need a military industrial complex desperately. It's the greatest thing to possibly have. We need to be making effective, like it's like what 150 millimeter ammunition shells. The good ammunition that we have, we need to like make and augment sort of like HIMARS. We should be augmenting certain tech and testing them in the north, right? We should be figuring out how to drone surveil and how to integrate drone technology into the north, and then adapt that for military tech and have like actual ships to protect our waters, right? Because if you are able to produce these things, there's always a need for people to buy quality ammunition stuff. So like you can always get Ukraine now or Taiwan or South Korea or whatever, or if it's the Israelis or whoever, if you have the effective ammunition shells and you're actively, investing and then finding ways to modify it, things that, again, one of the good things about NATO is standardized ammunition, right? Getting everyone under a military alliance, because the Czech Republic is a lot more powerful if Czech guns can shoot American bullets, right? If like, you know what I mean? Like that's one of the better things about NATO is integrating the synergy of different military technologies. And that's the great failure of the NATO and the Europeans is like when they get in their own way and they.
By the way, just wait here. This is the news. Did you know this? We joined the new NATO Defense Investment Pledge. As part of this 5% pledge, Canada will invest 3.5% of GDP for core military capabilities, expanding on our recent investments. That means further investments in our Canadian Armed Forces, modernizing our military equipment and technology, building up Canada's defense industries, and diversifying our defense partnerships. An additional 1.5% of GDP will be dedicated to investments in critical defense and security-related expenditure, such as new airports, ports, telecommunication, emergency preparedness systems, and other dual-use investments which serve defense as well as civil readiness. My problem is all of this sounds very good on paper, right? The current prime minister says this or that, but the current prime minister also wants to tax the living daylights out of you.
Yes.
And he's not helping the economy to grow. The economy doesn't grow when you have such a high taxation.
Yes.
It just doesn't grow. Nobody wants to invest in Canada.
Exactly. That's the problem. So there's a lot of, again, this is why I vote conservative. And I want, like, again, people are like, well, yes, I'm the Zionist Jew, part of the Hindutva conspiracy. It's the Zionist Hindutva conspiracy to reestablish the military industrial complex. Yes. And I want to take your sons, and I don't want your sons parachuting into Iran. I want them parachuting into high-paying, well-adjusted, like well-funded jobs in the defense manufacturing, like tech industry. And like these, again, these industries need to be secure. They're of natural interest. Like you need to find a way to have some sort of domestic manufacturing. Like let's work with the Americans. Let's work with the Europeans. Listen, we're always gonna have better military cooperation naturally with the Americans and the Europeans. And I get Donald Trump is an asshole and he's spouting off saying nonsense, and I get it. And like Europe's being nice to us right now, and I'm all in like on being friends with Europe. I'm not like, listen, I think sometimes the Europeans are a bit pansies, and their foolishness led to the Russian invasion of Ukraine in a lot of ways. And like, had we, not been like so, had Europe not deindustrialized to be woke, I think we'd be in a lot better scenario. But great. But again, like, high level geopolitical breakdown right now. Canada is here and America is here. They are touching each other. Where Europe is, it's here. So it just a natural flow. There's a geography and there's an ocean. Not to say we shouldn't cooperate with Europe. We're born sort of in Europe, not being Europeans, like a child coming. I get the whole identity thing. Europe's a democracies. Canada gets along with democracies.
No,
Go team.
but see, this is
But
not. I disagree with you. Where Canada makes a mistake is that 70% of Canadian trade is dependent on the United States of America. This is just not a sustainable model. What Canada has relied on historically is the Americans will keep growing as an economy. They cannot produce everything, and naturally, the spillover effect will come into play. And the spillover of American excess will come to Canada first. Mexico maybe later on for the cheaper stuff, and then the rest of the world comes in. That clearly has not happened. Every time American society turns inwards, isolationist, Canada gets screwed the most. This is not a healthy sign. Any country that puts all their eggs in one basket gets screwed. The reason the negotiation with the United States of America right now is at such a horrible pace,
They don't
where
have leverage.
whatever we do as a country, the Americans just say, shut up, you have no locus standi, shut up, daddy's talking, is because it's humiliating because of the decisions that our political class made, that we always were, where we went for the easy option. America will defend us, America will give us orders, America, their car companies will give us the excess orders, so we don't need to bother about anything. There's a fundamental problem with our political class and our political thinking in this country.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's my problem.
Yeah. All of this is true. All of this is true, and I agree with every word. Yeah, and like this is again, too high. Again, we have to take this seriously. And I think if we actually
ask me this, let's say we reduce our dependence on America from 70% to 60% to 50%, and we actually start trading with other countries in the world. I include China in this, for the record. I include China in this. The Chinese Communist Party and China are two different entities. Okay, but okay, we prioritize democracies over dictatorships. That I know.
Yeah, and like,
that.
listen,
That's
with
why I'm
China, like, listen, I'm very free trade, Milton Friedman-ish, and I criticized Trump on this for a while and the tariff and the things, but I am. It is truthful that we are being screwed by China in a lot of ways, and it's not equal trade by China, and like we should. And the same thing with Canada. Like, I'm not against trade with China. Like, they have 1 billion people, and like I am Canada first. You know, you need it, but the way we're going about it, and we're having the worst of all worlds, and we need to be stronger and stand up more to the Chinese and be able to look them in the eye, and they'll respect us more if we're a more respectable country, and then we'll be able to deal in a more equitable and respectful manner if they respect us more, and I'm there for that. Right, with other democracies. So like, listen, I'm all in favor of Mark Carney being the beloved friend of Europe and getting us more European trade. And if he can actually do that, if he can get the Europeans to give billions to Canada to spite America because Klaus Schwab says so or whatever, I'm not going to complain.
Forget all of that. People still have not realized this is how stupid the Canadian discourse is. This is how stupid Canadian mainstream media is, which was obsessed over Indian foreign interference. Remember this news? Rift with Canada slams brakes on India's Striker armored vehicle deal report last year.
Yeah,
this deal is still not on. Will anybody ask that question? Will these aren't Canadian deals? These aren't Canadian jobs?
Like, Canada can have an actual industry if you make, like, listen, and do that. And like, if we want to sort of export, like, we can make good, high quality, practical military tech, like, again, like Stryker, armored personnel carriers. And there will be countries, if you have capabilities, like if we have the domestic manufacturing and the capabilities, there are a lot of countries that might feel more comfortable buying stuff from us than buying stuff from the US, because buying stuff from us comes with less strings attached. So that is, in a sense, a competitive market to the US that also works in their favor. Because again, if you're like part of American geostrategic problems, like America would probably have funded Ukraine more and given Ukraine arms had there been more arms available, but there was a lack. There's a limited supply of ammunition in the global alliance of good guys, and I think synergizing if we can make shells that are highly effective, that could be used by the Philippines, that could be used by the Ukrainians, that could be used by the Czechs, that could be used by the English, that could be used by the French, that could be used by the Germans, that could be used by the Americans, that could be used by the Argentinians, and or whatever people it would then draw different countries into our general influence and alliance sphere. And if you can be a productive member of that alliance, you can benefit, right? So Canada, like, again, this is where we have this like complex Canadian identity, where you can hold one foot sort of in your country, but also realize that Canada like there is something true to the statement that Canada does function the best when it is a global player. And Canada should be a global player and can be one. Like that definitely is part of the thing. And I think, like, again, but you can't soft, like you say all the time, like soft power isn't real, and soft power is a window dressing to hard power in reality. When it
Forget
works.
soft power. Canada's power is that we strongly condemn you.
We strongly condemn.
Condemning people. What the hell? Look, you cannot be taken seriously at a global stage if you behave the way Canada does. Nobody's going to take you seriously. And people find it very humiliating. I was like, oh, India is taken more seriously than Canada.
Yeah.
I mean, these are just facts. People don't realize, and I don't say this as someone who's anti-Canada. I'm saying this as someone who's pro-Canada and pro-India.
Do you know how many, like, we can be this country, like, if we effectively harvest our resource base? Look at Norway and how great they're doing. If, like, we have more oil and natural gas than Iran does, and, like, there are countries, if you sit on top of, like, giant resources like Iran and Venezuela, doesn't mean you're going to be successful if you do crazy socialist nonsense. But if you don't do that, we can unlock. Canada can be one of the richest countries in the entire world. It has has port access, can trade to Europe, can trade to Asia.
All of that is fine, but I think the damage Justin Trudeau has done to Canada, and again, I don't think Canadians, the average Canadian, appreciates this. The damage Justin Trudeau Senior and Junior both have done to Canada is very grave. The damage is not just economic. The damage is epistemological. It's philosophical damage.
Yes.
The damage of just saying that I'm a post-national state. You're a post-national state. The post-national states don't have national security.
Don't have national
Simple. Yeah. They don't have a national identity. They're a post-national state. They don't need security. They're just a free-for-all. Anybody walks in, takes them over. It's a natural correlation of that. And it's unbelievable that it took a new immigrant to just ask anyone, hang on, am I the only retard who's thinking about this? Are you guys all a bunch of morons? And when I say this, people are like, that's a very good point. I was like, why didn't you think about it? I just came here 3 years ago. And I'm more patriotic than you who's born here. What the hell? Are you guys stupid? It's so stupid. All of these people are stupid. Like they don't understand the consequences of what their politicians occur, which is what takes me to the conference that we just concluded. First of all, I want to say that before the conference started, a lot of people were like wondering whether people will turn up or not. And people need to understand, this is Canada. So there are a lot of Indians watching this. This is Canada. The population of Canada is less than Mumbai metropolitan region and Delhi NCR region combined. It's less than that. The whole country's population is less than just 2 major areas of India. So you cannot compare numbers that come to India with numbers that come in Canada. It's a very different thing. To experiment with a national security conference without any university professor and talk about actual issues that affect national security was a big risk. To do it, on a long weekend, where so for people who don't know, 1st of July is Canada Day.
Yeah,
it's Canada Day, so it's a long weekend and everybody goes on a holiday. And I don't know what had gotten to us, but we said, okay, we're doing then on Canada Day. But we basically wanted to do it between the Air India bombing and Canada Day week, the days between that. And we chose it for that significance. To do all of that and to see the kind of people, I think this conference, the crowd was an actual representation of what Canada was. So many white folks, so many Indian folks. There were black folks there. This is like, damn. Black people came to our conference. I've never seen black people in any conference that I've come to.
Listen, you put on something like, like this is, it's gonna, if it would drive the white supremacists outside insane. That was
no fun. Wonder the white supremacists. How dare dark-skinned people talk about national security?
Yeah. Well, I think what were there, like let's say if we can, Joe Adam George, who's a Christian from the Middle East, but I guess from originally an Indian background. Okay, fine. What, 4 Indian speakers, 4 white speakers,
No,
2
there were not
Jews, and
4
an
Indian
Iranian.
speakers.
Anyone?
Who was I was the Indian speaker.
Indian
Everybody else was a
origin, right?
Canadian.
Okay, right. Everyone's Canadian, right? But if you're gonna be a
No,
racist,
I'm not.
you're not.
I'm
Okay.
Sanjay
Okay.
Lazar and me. We were
Well,
the
you
only
Sanjay,
speakers.
Indians, yes. And then Mira and Tahir. I know Tahir is from Pakistan, or Mira, Tahir, and Joe Adam George. They're all Canadian, or none of them actually
Tahir
born in
refuses
India.
to be called a Pakistani.
So he's fully on he's someone from Pakistan, but fully on rejects his Pakistani identity for Canadian identity, and is like, you know, worked with Canadian intelligence agencies in the past on this particular issue. So like, yeah, but like let's say all brown people are Indian, right? Okay, that's the thing. Okay, so it's what, 4 brown people, 4 white people, 2 Jews speaking. This is what you're mad at.
Jews
Like,
white.
it's depending on where you are. Like if you love white people, love them, then no, Jews are not white. And if you hate white people, they're the worst, then yeah, Jews are probably white to you. So that's, you know, the unfortunate part of being Jewish. But you know, like it was good. There's a lot of media there, a lot of people covered it, and like I do want to thank the white nationalists for making a fool of themselves. Like, you know, not even managing to register for the conference, and then like going and then like, you know, live streaming about the conference outside and making content and like really promoting it. Like they've been going on and just ranting and raving about. Listen, they've been ranting and raving about this thing for like almost like 100 hours straight at this point, and good on them. Like I support this, and they're getting all people hyped. Like, what was being said inside the conference? What was being said? And the conference was
We're gonna share the whole video. We're just waiting for the video to be edited,
yeah, and then
the
when
audio and video to be synced, and that's all. We're not even
edited
bother about
and
it.
then put into a thing. Like, listen, the reason why it's not being released right away is because it's not high quality yet, right? And
Yeah,
the videos,
we need
so
to
they're getting
improve the audio.
yeah, and the camera, like again, like and they're getting it edited, like it will drop, but they're getting people excited. And like part of what the conference is about is like, I think a lot of good ideas, and like I thought the panels went really well, and like I want to, like, if you're on YouTube, like I think the YouTuber panel was like really, really good, and it was the type of like panel that you could argue was like the least spicy or like, you know, attention drawing, because it's like, you know, national security, digital age, and social media, and how all these things affect you know, national security. But I thought they did an excellent job of like making that a really well flowing and entertaining and like informative panel, like that actually like brought, like it brought relevant expertise. So I mean, if you don't subscribe to the Elevate podcast, Clyde Do Something, Jasmine Lane, Wyatt Claypool at the National Telegraph, I highly endorse. It's great.
Yeah, for me, what was interesting is, listen, I don't respond to people on Twitter is because A, I have too many followers, and B, I have no time. I'm a busy man. But I do. So there's this gentleman who came, whatever. I don't even know the name of the gentleman. Honestly, I don't even know anything about this person. Clearly dislikes me for the color of my skin, and you know what? I'm gonna say this on the record. I support his right to hate me for the color of my skin. I support his right to hate me and say hateful things about me, as long as he does not cross the line where he wants to kill me. I have no issues with it. He can say all Indians are this. Go for it. I don't care, because my life does not revolve around him, and I don't care. Somebody tells me go back to India, I just say I am actually. I do actually. So I don't understand what the big fuss is about. And anyways, they are a very tiny, minuscule minority of Canada. But this gentleman has made 2-3 false claims. The registration was literally open till what, 8 p.m. Eastern time Saturday, almost till approximately 8 p.m. Eastern
I think
time
it's closed.
Saturday.
I think it's closed around 6. He had made a
6 or
video.
8. I don't remember
I
exact
think it was
time.
earlier. I don't have the exact time. I actually think it was now. It's closed before that, around like 4
Yeah,
o'clock.
but the
Yeah, but
event is on
it was
Sunday. We have way too many registrations. We
it
can
was
shut it
it was
anytime.
announced. it was announced that it was that we that it was sold out. That was registration had stopped, and then he had made a video. Let's just name him. You can Greg Wycliffe.
I don't know him. I don't know him. That's why
I
I'm
know
not
him.
saying it.
I know him from the time.
I know
A
nothing
lot.
about this person. I know
Yeah.
nothing about this person.
And then he had made a video. Oh, it was a good video. Like after registration closed, he had made a video like declaring that he's coming and he's going to be there and he's gonna cover it and he's gonna do this and he's gonna come in and expose and blow it. Like he had made a video also like attacking like all the speakers and the organizers of the event and like saying insane conspiratorial things about it. Oh my god, my favorite thing is like they're accusing CIF and everyone being involved in money laundering because ICIC Bank was involved. Someone at ICIC Bank was involved in a money laundering scandal in ICIC Bank, like somewhere at some point, and like the collections, like, yeah, it's a bank. Yeah, people run money laundering schemes through banks. It's a global bank. Like, look at Canadian banks. Like, I'm not defending that, but like, where do you run money laundering schemes through? Like, everyone has a bank, right? And also, ICIC wasn't a sponsor of this event. They had sponsored someone else's, like a different CIF event beforehand. And like, also, what do you think sponsorships are? It's like a commercial. Like, do you know that you sometimes watch commercials on a TV show and the commercials are not part of the TV show? Do you know that? Do you know that the commercial is actually not part of the TV show? What happens is the people who want to make the commercial, like a Hershey's chocolate bar, they give money to like CBS, and when they run a CSI TV show, there's a CSI, but then they stop, and then they put the commercial on for the chocolate bar, and then you go chocolate bar, and they get money to do that, and that money is then used to make the TV show. Those are two separate things. So it doesn't mean the person in the CSI TV show, it doesn't mean he's owned by Hershey's chocolate, but this is like a spot. So that was the insane conspiracy they were pushing, is that because ICIC Bank had been involved, someone who had used ICICI Bank was involved in financial crimes at some point. I know someone involved in financial crimes at a bank. What are the odds? And then that they had sponsored a CIF event beforehand. Therefore, everyone was doing money laundering at the event. Brilliance. And I hope, like, if this is really, I mean, if this is going to be their narrative they're going to run with, I'm going to enjoy this, like watching them make hate videos.
No,
so,
but
like,
it's not fair. ICICI Bank is a global bank. It's one of the largest banks in India. They are a very well-respected organization. A lot of Canadian companies also bank with them. So what, all of them are frauds? I will. I am an ICICI Bank customer since dog's years.
yeah. I'm a TD Bank customer, and TD Bank's full of criminals. Like, what do you want from me?
It's
Okay?
ridiculous. This argument itself, though, but that's not the point. This gentleman, whosoever this was, had not even registered for the conference.
Oh yeah,
Everybody, including me, who was a freaking speaker, even I had to register. Even I had to register, and even I had to show my QR code. Everybody did. Why? I'll tell you why. Because it's a national security conference where we were going to talk about extremism. And everybody is a little antsy in this country because security is a concern in this country. So everybody had to show ID.
Yeah. You had to show your ID. It had to match your ticket. So in his own thing, he says that he even admits he had to give this one up. I like he admits the thing that he didn't register under his name. And the conditions were your name had to match your ID on the ticket. And because, yes, he had made videos threatening to take down the conference and spouting insane conspiracies, yeah, he was met at the door and like, yeah, no, we know that you don't have a ticket because you
forget everything. If you would have registered for the conference, okay, there is an operating line in the email you would have received from Tafseek, especially from Tafseek. Okay, it said, we reserve the right to remove anyone who, in our judgment, is disrupting the panel or disturbing attendees for any reason we deem appropriate. It's literally written to even the people who registered for the event. First of all, this gentleman does not register for the event. Oh, somebody else registered. I don't care. Even anyone else registering, you cannot come on them. Everybody had to show their ID and register themselves. 2, even if you did register, this was written clearly as a disclaimer. You did not buy a ticket. It was a free event. What do you like? 2-year-olds? Well, they didn't let me in. Yeah, it's a free event. I will not call anyone. I will sit there and I will talk to myself because I have the money to rent the Paramount event space and just talk to myself.
Yeah.
Maybe you should get a real job.
Man, oh, it was so funny watching him get deported. He didn't have proper paperwork and he got deported. Isn't
Got
that what we're isn't what this is about? Some extremists came without proper paperwork, lying about their identity. Our security identified them, did the procedures, and had them deported instantly. This is how we're going to run the country going forward. This is the Zionist Hindu fucking
This is how national security should be done.
This is how we're taking over Western civilization to save it. Oh yeah, we're going to deport all the criminals and all the crazies. And anyone coming, we're going to deport you.
And even deported. After all of that, some folks from inside had the decency to go outside and speak with the person.
Yeah, the organizer of the event spent 45 minutes talking to him. They're going around like they couldn't answer any of our questions. They were scared of us. Amir had a 45-minute conversation with them outside. And it's pretty clear that like they came and they posted the interaction. He's sitting down, catching his breath, like it's a long conference. He's worked hard, like good on him. And then he's like, they come up and like start harassing him and this and that, and like, oh, this and that. And he's like, okay, fine. You want to talk? We'll go over there off the property and I'll talk to you if you want to talk. So they got their stuff. Like, I don't like, so they really have nothing to complain about. It's truly like that's whatever it is.
No, but so the point is that this is not the media being stopped to attend the event. This is how transparent this event was. There were multiple media outlets, and I'm going to name them, each one of them, okay? From Canada, the largest conservative platform in all of Canada, probably one of the largest in the world, conservative media platforms, Rebel News. They were allowed to shoot every single second. Tell me one event where they allowed this. Every single second of the event was allowed. They were freely allowed to question anyone, anytime, any place.
They were able to. They had access to all. There was media had access to all the panelists in break time and afterwards who were made things to them. The only condition put on media people in there, Rebel News and outside, I'll say, is they were asked to not post entire panels in their entirety.
Yeah, because we want people to watch it on our YouTube channel, man, not on their YouTube channel. It's
exactly.
Because we want to share the whole thing first ourselves, then you can do whatever you want to do. That's the only request we did. In fact, people who are attending, just the crowd was told, you can also make short clips and share it while you are at it. Just don't do a 30-minute video. That's all we request.
Use any clips
we want to share it first.
Any clips you want, anything, clip to your heart's content of anything. Make a 1-hour video mashing the entire conference together. Do you. All the like influencers, you want to take your panel clips from your panel and make it a thing.
And Sanjay was doing that, right? Sanjay Lazar was doing that. He was doing it for others too. Forget that. So I mentioned Rebel News, Can-Am Network from British Columbia. They were covering it. We had ANI. So I know ANI creates jitters in Canada, but I just want to inform the Canadians that ANI is like Reuters, and ANI is literally the largest news distribution agency of Asia. So Canadians, if you get featured on ANI, you're lucky. I don't know how else to say this. Your ANI is actually doing you a favor. And they are so big.
And like, and like, so for anyone like criticizing this, who are like this and that, like, what this does to have a national security conference in Canada covered by the largest news distributor in Asia significantly increases our global prestige and Canada's viability in this market. Like it's a good thing for Canada. Like I'm proud of the country for doing that. I'm proud of Tafseek and CIF for doing something well enough that ANI wanted to cover it, and it made news. And like the things that were discussed were actually like substantive and interesting and applicable to the globe. That's when Canada's its strongest. When Canadian self-interest is actually paired well with like global stability, Canada benefits. So yeah, So you say, oh, they're also complaining about A. Great. Like, do you not want Canada to be a
So
relevant
not only
geopolitical?
that, another journalist independently had come. Anirudh Bhattacharya had come from the Hindustan Times. He writes for
Yep.
the Hindustan Times. He's a Canadian journalist. I mean, I just don't understand. We had, if somebody from the National Post would have wanted to come, we would have allowed them. We would have allowed the Toronto Star, CBC, CTV, anyone who would have wanted to come, we would have come. But if you're a white nationalist who wants to spew hatred, spare me
Well,
a
listen,
moment of saying no to you.
if like it's a commentary on extremism, so it's all types. If you're going to be making videos and posting with prior malicious intent to disturb the conference and undermine it, then no, you don't get to come in. Like that would
And
go
go
to,
after decent Indian companies that, you know what these people do. They're such morons. ICICI Bank has critical investments in Canada. Going after such people only harms Canada. This is the most anti-Canada thing to do. Why
well,
are
actually,
you going? Yeah,
no,
what?
I'm going to defend them on this one. The way they've done it is so beautifully R to the D did that they actually did. Everyone they're criticizing actually does benefit by having such lunatic, insane criticism that everyone looks more reasonable. In contrast to the level of criticism they're getting from these amazing specimens. So that's why I think it's worth mentioning them, because usually it's not worth giving them the time of day, but I do think they have earned the attention.
No, I just want to clarify. I just wanted to clarify to people that this gentleman had not registered. I was one of the most critical aspects of that conference, and I registered. Everybody did. I had a freaking wristband on to go in and go out, and the security was told, even though they knew I was one of the most critical aspects. Even the freaking chair of CIF had a freaking wristband on it, and he was paying for the whole thing. And even he had a damn wristband on. That's how strict we were.
Because
You know, yeah,
you have to vet
maybe
people. If you're
people are
going to
not
privilege
used to this.
yeah, like if you're gonna like it's again, if this was done in like a public venue, like a public library or whatever, or like in a park,
We
then I
paid for
go,
the damn event space.
then I
We
go,
deserve the right.
then I go, fine, like everyone can join. But like, yeah, it's private property. Like, guys, like, what are you doing? It was just so funny, and I was so happy that like they just like. Can I also say like, I'm a bit disappointed having known him 10 years ago before he was Nazi. Like, there's some skill to this, okay? I have listen, I'm not the most popular guy everywhere. People love me, people hate me. But I do like street journalism too, okay? I comment to do this. I exist in this new world. I never would ever go anywhere where I know I didn't have control of the situation I could get in. Don't do it, buddy. Like I know you wanted to do this like great attention seeking hero, like I'm trying to get to the truth. It's a fun little burning thing, but let me just future life advice. It's not good. Like it's not good to be seen defeated. Like you tried to get in a stupid way and to be pushed back. It shows people that you're not effective. Like you don't want to be a loser. So getting deported on camera, it's not good. You have to engineer a way for you to get into a venue or a place productively to then take a stand. Like and you were so lazy, and you did it last minute. You should have pre-registered and shown that, and then said how excited you were, and be like, there's a procedure to this, and you did it so poorly. Like that's where I'm disappointed in you. But I'm also proud of you that you did it so poorly and it failed so spectacularly, and that you're continuing to do it and provide consistent media coverage of the conference. So I don't want to undermine your efforts and what you've done for us, and how you've been able to help CIF and Tafseek, and all the people at the conference. So I don't want to undermine and sell the great work done by the white nationalist community over the last 3-4 days. Short. They have
And I just want to put it on the record. Everybody who spoke there, whether they were a moderator or whether they were speakers, if somebody can come up and say they were told what to say, I will stop public speaking for the rest of my life. Nobody was told anything, till the extent the joke was when, like, I had gone to the hotel to greet everyone. Because it was my job, I had to make sure that everybody was
Mhm.
taken care of. And at that time, I remember Wyatt telling me, yo, you've not told me anything. And it's the same thing.
Mhm.
Clyde came up to me and told me, you've not told me anything. I was like, just be you. I don't care what you talk about. Just don't be a genocidal person who wants everybody killed. But we have faith in you. You're a good speaker. You have good thoughts. Please go and speak.
And I think that
Not
got the best
even
out
a
of these
single
guys.
person
Like
was
I
told what to say.
like I think the coming video from like online, I think it's gonna be really good for like I think it's gonna be really good content. I think we'll get a lot out of it, but I think people find it really interesting what they ended up talking about. And like, as someone who has a good amount of public speaking background, and like I was really impressed by the YouTubers able to sort of parlay their skills in like a group setting, which isn't easy. So hats off to Wyatt for moderating that, and all of them for like actually, as a collective. I think that was like the best flow of a panel. Before all the other panels, like, they're good and they're really entertaining, but they had a sort of a traditional academic panel flow to them that I think people will see. And I think the YouTubers really showed their value when people see the video of like the ability to communicate ideas effectively from people of different backgrounds. I thought they did a really excellent job, and provided. And when you don't tell people what to say and you give them a topic, like, listen, people like, we had a back in the Trudeau days before COVID and all this, we used to have this big free speech chill. And part of it is like there's been an unleashing, and in the second Trump era, and Elon Musk bought X, and there's all this type of stuff. But there used to be this big freeze on free speech in Canada, especially by those in the right. All right, on those in the right, not by those in the right. Like, again, historically the Trudeau era. We just had a conference that the panel topics were Islamism. So tell me that's not something that usually gets people into like, oh my God, like, get a protest to start. Second panel were the social media, digital age, national security in the digital age, and how new media affects conversations and culture around this. 3, effects of terrorism, victim impact story of like the worst terrorist attack in Canadian history and the failures around it. So literal terrorist attack. 4, immigration, and like, how immigration can be weaponized to destroy society and part of a national security threat if done poorly. And then 5, foreign interference and how it's used to weaponize against Canada. Name me 5 different panels in the Justin Trudeau era that none of those, like, again, all of those 5 would have got the Trudeau media, whatever, to come down hard on you would think. But we just had a conference where people from different backgrounds, there's white, there's brown, there's Jewish, there's non-Jewish, there's Christian, there's some Muslim, people getting things, talking about all this stuff. And are we getting attacked by the deep state now? Is there an attempt to censor? No, we just had a successful conference. Like, there's a media release. It's getting coverage in different media. It's covered in, again, Asia's largest news network. Like, sorry, but like, I think the Liberals are not going to attack us on this conference, because I actually think that this conference was good for the Liberal Party and the country, and the Conservative Party too. Like, by getting Canadian discourse and reasonable Canadian discourse into the global stage, Canada benefits. Geostrategically, we benefit by having a higher social standing around the world. We always have. And I think by showing that Canada, like, is actually a country able to have these reasonable conversations, does huge effects for our geopolitics going forward. Because now the new Liberal government can go and say, oh, when Trump says, oh, you're too woke, you don't have free speech, you don't allow these type of things, like, hey, there's a former Liberal minister, Ujjal Dosanjh, among many other things. That's when who was the keynote speaker of the conference. You had Conservatives going on it. You had different types of people. And we've, again, given a positive image of Canada in some parts of the world. And we've done something that is effective that the government can use. Like, again, we talked about like concrete ways. We've shown an effective, socially viable, grassroots, Canada First national security lobbying system that the government can then integrate into its like old personnel. They're like, oh yes, okay, now that we can say, oh, there is grassroots community support, people do support these ideas of controlled immigration, of, we need, RICO laws, security, we didn't institute visas for Mexicans because of the cartels, and all these different types of stuff. Now that we have this on the record, and it will be put out further on the record. And it looks like, the Liberals are not going to try and throw us in hate speech jail. Well, good. Now we've created a sort of a basis where the Liberals can then institute these policies more effectively, or the Conservatives if they come behind them. Either way, like it's a win for everyone in Canada involved, except for the people who were kicked out of the conference because they didn't have the paperwork. But if they care about the country, any part of them does, I think they'll be happy, and their particular brand of unpalatable insanity help make that a reality. So thank you to them.
Yet I said this as my closing remarks in the last panel as a moderator. And I'm going to repeat it over here. I'm sick and tired of people expecting me to pick one. When I go around, and it's not like I don't get recognized in India. I'm reasonably known now in India. So when I go around to talk in public settings, they ask me to say bad things about Canada. And I'm supposed to hate Canada because apparently Trudeau picked a fight with India. And I always used to give only a simple one-line answer: go to hell. I'm not going to hate Canada. And I just want to say that to everybody over here too, that if you expect me to hate India, you can also go to hell. I'm not. I like both these countries. I want relations in both these countries to improve. I truly believe Jagmeet Singh and Justin Trudeau were an abomination. And I am someone who leans conservative, but I believe Mark Carney, as far as the India-Canada bit is concerned, I'm not talking about the whole thing, but as far as the India-Canada bit is concerned, I cannot criticize him. He's not giving me any reason to criticize him. Just because I lean conservative doesn't mean I need to criticize Mark Carney for the things that he's doing right. That's not how honest political commentary is done.
Yeah,
just
you know
because
what I tell you, like, because if you're just always criticizing Carney or Trudeau or the back, like I criticize Trudeau all the time because he failed all the time in ridiculous ways, and I have criticized Carney over the last bit for the bad things he does and the Trudeau-esque things, and like there's some significant government overreach. I think he's too laissez-faire with Parliament. I think he should be doing a bit more of a serious, like, let's get to work on this. But like,
one more disclaimer. I just want to add one more disclaimer. Everything that a moderator and a speaker said on that particular day is not the responsibility of either Canada India Foundation and Tafseek. It's very clear. These are our own individual views that we say as speakers. We are grateful that Canada India Foundation and Tafseek gave us the platform. This is what free speech is all about. I did not know that free speech, and to everyone who keeps talking about these weird things, like, what do we want? Well, like, we want to live in North Korea now. I guess that's the idea. If the white nationalists had their way, we would live in North Korea.
Yeah. Like, listen, there was a guy there, like a white guy who had registered for the conference and been there, and there's a Freedom Convoy supporter, big Freedom Convoy guy, and there's some Freedom Convoy people there. And like, he was there early, and I met him, and he talked to him, and someone else came up and said, like, hey, this guy's written a book and stuff about, like, like the concerns about like government overreach and COVID, and like the basis of like the Freedom Convoy and the lies about the freedom. But like, listen, I was there covering the Freedom Convoy, so I'm like, yeah, like, listen, there are places for supporting organizations to set up booths. We let some Freedom Convoy supporters had some literature about related to national security, and like there was some bullshit about RCMP reports, and even Shiv Majumdar touched on the faulty reporting on the Freedom Convoy and the justification for the Emergencies Act. So yeah, there was a designated spots for people to sponsor off on, like, conferences. There's a hall and there's a place for booths and different organizations, whatever. And they wanted to bring a Canadian flag and I think a golden shofar and some literature about media disinformation on the convoy. Sure, set it up, free speech, go there. Like, that's your thing. There's little free speech sectors in a conference. Like, then people will come around, say, what's this about? That's all the things, supporting organizations. Like, go for it. You register. You come up, you're respectful, you ask people politely, like, hey, I have this, can I do this? Like, you're vetted. Yeah. So like, all these people, they like find out like the type of organization supporting, like, oh, they didn't let in real white Canada first. No, like there was a a whole group of people who knew each other from the Freedom Convoy who came in and like had registered and could be vetted and like they wanted to participate in the conference and they didn't want to like undermine it, and they got to ask questions and they got to like they got the same rights as everyone else. Like, listen, not everyone got a question about everything, because listen, you can't.
Can I also say, why do people not ask questions? They give speeches. That's my biggest pet peeve.
Yeah, I tried to mitigate it, but
it just cannot. I think human beings have lost the ability to ask questions.
Yeah, and actually, the Freedom Convoy guy,
that's the only guy who asked the question.
The only guy who the best question asker of the day was the Freedom Convoy independent journalist. I know Derek. I've seen him on the streets before. I see him covering stuff.
You're talking about the guy from Brampton, right?
Yeah, the guy from Brampton. You know,
we have white people in Brampton, ladies.
Yeah, Derek Noonan. I'll give him a shout out. Like he covers stuff on the streets. He'll cover some cover different protests, whatever. He's one of the guys who's doing like independent street journalism, and I respect that. And he asked the best. Yeah, his question was like a specific, like, okay, I've identified these problems. How do they fit into the grand thing of foreign interference that you're talking about? And I think we were able to give a good response. Best question asker of the day was, so you want to, anyone who ever wants to demean the Freedom Convoy as antisocial yobs or rubes or whatever. Like some of them might be like look working class and dress more working class, but like. Everyone who went through the Freedom Convoy is far more like perceptive and incisive than most people give them credit for. And of course, like if you register and you're a Freedom Convoy, white Christian Canadian who believes in Canada first in the country and the values, of course you can come. Of course you can participate. And like if you had I'm sure if we do UAE 2026 and you want to come and you want to be like you have a thing and you want to be part of the conference in a productive way, and you think like you want to like have like a booth to set up, something about, again, like you want to do the same thing of like, okay, we have a thing about how CSIS and the RCMP and the CBC, the government failed in national security wise on the Freedom Convoy file, and that undermine. Yeah, come, register, come. Like everyone was included. Even the other thing I have to say is sort of we'll get behind the scenes, and like I think a big part of like my influence is sort of on the conference going this and when I my 2 cents put in is do I know the people behind the different organizations? Yeah, like I'm not gonna hide that, like, yes, I'm connected with the people. We're not the same people, but like I think the CIF people is a good organization and I like them, and I've been to their events and like covered stuff, and I think they do good work. And same thing with Tough Seek. Like I'm very public about that. Like I'm losing my train of thought a bit here. We're going on for a while. Where am I going with this? We have lots of Jews and whatever, and everyone cooperating and getting together. Like whatever. Okay, my thing on the conference. I said, we should have the conference public. Announce it where it's going to be. Don't try and hide it. That's a big thing. That like a lot of stuff in Canada gets protested by the crazies because you try and hide it from them. Right? People always try and hide and like, oh, registration will be released, afraid of a counter protest or a pushback or whatever. No, we're going to have the most controversial topics possibly in Canada, in Canadian history. I dare you to find a public event that had as much like spice level. Let's talk Indian spice level. Find me a spicier dish in Canadian history. And they always get protests and like, please come in and this and that. No jihadis outside, no commies, no Khalistanis waving swords, and only like a couple of
only white nationalists.
Only like 2 or 3 white nationalists who couldn't get in and throwing a hissy fit outside. Hilarious. Like again, it shows that like what I hope to inspire in Canadians, and especially my community, the Jewish community, like be more like public and like be more proud and like less scared of everything. Like when you get worried, can I say this? When that's your mentality, then people are going to intuit that and try and stop you from saying it. But if you're like, we're going to say this at this time, at this place, come if you want. And then a lot of people decide to come. So we close registrations because you don't want too much of a nonsense, and everyone has to be vetted in some way. So it gets too much of a hassle last minute, and you have enough, it reaches, boom, it's done. So like, there you go. And like, That's-
Wait, let me share something with everyone. All right. You say that we did not let people watch or record anything.
Is raise awareness.
Oh,
Look.
well, we're not looking at it. Put on the screen. There.
Here, Rebel News. You think we were not going to let them? Look, the whole 12 minutes, the entire speech of Ujjal Dosanjh. Did we stop them? No. You stupid muppet. We didn't stop him. The only reason we said no to you is you're a racist and you had not registered primarily.
And you had declared a jihad against the conference beforehand. Like,
Yeah, you dumb.
like, dude, like,
Look.
at least couch it as like, couch it as like, I'm coming to add to the conference. I'm really excited. And then, don't say any of the stuff about like, crazy conspiracy about Jews and Hindus before and be like, I'm excited. People are saying stuff, but I'm going to go find the truth. Let your crazy. So stupid. I just want to fix them because if we're going to be working together in the future, white nationalists, I'm going to help you out. If you are the leader of the white nationalist cell, you get your followers to say
Anyways,
the crazy
we
thing.
have to wrap up, but I'll explain. This is Ivan is an Indian, and forget the word Madarniya. It's okay. It's a pun on Adarniya, respected, but not so respected. So I'm just giving it to you.
Mhm.
But what he's saying is, does Greg realize that this kind of behavior is going to make sure the conservatives lose again? Yes, they will.
Well, he's not a conservative. He's not a conservative. He never has been.
Yeah. Oh,
He
he's
was
a PPC,
he
bro.
was a liberal, and then he was PPC. Not for a second in his life he ever been conservative. And I knew him when I started comedy, and we did like.
Can I share the fun fact? PPC lost votes in every single area in all of Canada. The only place PPC gained votes was where the Indians were, and Greg hates that very clearly.
You want to know something? Let's clip this, Greg. You ran for the PPC. I've gotten the PPC more votes than you ever did. You ding dong. And all of them were brown.
You morons. Anyways, other than that, all right, we'll just wrap it up over here. This has been so much fun. Like, I can't believe that somebody does not have the basic decency to even understand such basic things, but it's okay. And you know what? This is the last time I'm mentioning this gentleman ever in my life because I have better things to do. But I had to clarify this was because there was an attempt to run a false campaign against the conference and the organizers, and I think it was my moral responsibility as a speaker to come out. And you know what, I also want to say, all the other speakers have also spoken. It's just that Daniel and I do this show together, so we're doing it right now. But
Yeah.
Clyde spoke up. Like, Clyde was sitting there, he's like, they're literally talking about how mass immigration has affected us, and there are half of the people inside the auditorium are Indians, and everybody's like, yeah, it has, yeah, it has, yeah, it has. And he's like, what are you guys on to? Like, are you guys crazy?
We have you have Indian organizations who, yes, in their mandate is to help integrate people from India into Canadian culture to help Canada. Make the case that to be compassionate towards Indian immigrants, you have to have a lot less of them. What do you want? Like, again, like, what do you want?
How dare you integrate?
How dare you? Like, so now we have on record the organizations that are Hindu and Indian saying for Canadian national
CIF
security.
is not a Hindu organization. CIF is an
it's Indian. Okay,
Canadian organization that has Indian origin Canadians in it.
There was some.
Organization.
Yeah, it's not a Hindu organization. There were some Hindu organizations that had were supporting.
Yeah, so there was a coalition of Hindus of North America that was supporting, not sponsoring. There was the Hindu Forum Canada. By the way, there was also Progressive Muslims of Canada that was supporting us. You got a problem with that too now?
Yeah, the Iranian organizations and we let a Freedom Convoy organization support the conference and set up a thing last minute.
This was as diverse as it gets. There were progressive Muslims, there were Hindus, there were just Indians, there were Jewish organizations. What do you want?
Like you got a diverse coalition of people from different religions, backgrounds, and places to say, yeah, enough with mass migration. It hurts everyone on all sides of the border. It has to end.
It's stupid. Anyways, we'll wrap up right now, ladies and gentlemen. As always, thank you for tuning in. To everyone in Canada, I hope you guys understand that these are just baby steps, and we're going to do a lot more events in the future. To everyone who actually turned up on that day, obviously, it's a long conference. It's a 1 day conference, so you naturally have people coming in the first half, then they leave. People come in the second half, so people keep coming and going. But to have an almost full auditorium, I'll be, yeah, there were a few empty seats at some point of time because it was such a long day, and conferences don't have full seats all the time.
These people are in the hallways where the supporting organizations are to
They're
look at
having
the
a pizza in the hallway. They're
Yeah.
having a pizza in the hallway. Sometimes they're having a cup of tea. So, but to have a 90% occupancy rate for almost 8 hours uh, on a topic like national security, which is not very Canadian, I just want to thank everyone who turned up yesterday. Seriously, from the bottom of my heart, to all of you who turned up. It was so nice to see that. It was an amazing day. I was freaking tired. I was tired as hell. I've been preparing for this for the last so many days, and I was just mentally drained, and I'm glad this happened. And I hope we keep on doing this, and this is not even the end of it. We're going to write a proper conference paper. So to all the white nationalists, please wait. The conference paper is also going to
Oh, you
come
could get
out.
you got mad at round one, and I thank you for freaking out at round one, and you're helping us promote round two, which is when all these videos drop, and it looks like Whistle Desange's speech is up on Rebel News. And there will be round three when there's a conference, an official paper, a national security report based on the findings and put out there. And if you can freak out about that thing too, that would be appreciated, because again, you look insane and you will make our recommendation seem more reasonable by comparison. So it will be much more likely to have an effect in the Canadian government if you throw an absolute hissy fit. So keep it up. You're doing great. We're just going to need you to just keep this energy going a little bit longer, and just know that as you are making videos about me being an Israeli plant or whatever, Zionist Jews, Hindus, whatever it is you're doing, just know that I am there. I am watching you. I am supporting you. I am proud of you. You are truly, truly, truly the unintentional Mossad agents that I always knew you could be.
Yeah, and to everyone who thinks I'm an Indian agent, um, I just want to break it to you. Yes, I am Indian. I don't know what an agent means. If by agent you mean someone who wants to improve Canada's relations with India, I am absolutely Indian agent. I am here as a goodwill ambassador. I visit Canada from India. When I go back home to Mumbai, I am a goodwill ambassador of Canada to India. Daniel was with me in India, and he
Yeah.
personally saw me defending Canada in front of Indians. I would defend Canada more than probably Daniel defended Canada.
I defend. I've defend. That's also what I'm kind of like sometimes in India, because sometimes I'll go full bore and throw a fight with when people try and disrespect Canadian or American or coalition troops, or sovereignty, whatever, in Indian media, and like do some crazy nonsense, sometimes to do with Russian, whatever. I fight back. And yeah, I've seen you defend Canada in India, so yeah, go team.
Yeah, and so we are all in this together. We just want these two amazing countries to have not $10 billion trade. We want a $50 billion trade between these two countries, so that we can actually have freaking jobs in this country. And we don't have to worry about what Donald Trump is going to do. So on that, we will end today's podcast. As always, if you want to follow Daniel, his X handle is there in the description of the podcast. If you want to send any donations to Daniel, you can send them directly to his PayPal account. If you want to send donations to me from Canada, my Interac email ID is kushalmehra81@gmail.com. And if you want to send donations from India, you can use UPI, kushalmehra@ICICI. And if you want to join the membership program of this podcast, please consider joining it either on YouTube or on Patreon. It doesn't matter, wherever you are. If you can't do any of that, just like this video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment in the comment section. To every extremist, whether Islamist, Khalistani, white nationalist, or Hindu extremist, I welcome all of you to come up with the choicest abuses in the comment section. I will personally make sure that I have fun reading them. And the audio listeners, please leave a rating on your preferred audio platform. As always, this is Kushal Mehra and Daniel Boardman signing off from Canada. Please take care of yourselves. Take care. Bye bye. See you next time.